So what's happening? Anything exciting?
No, nothing exciting. Nothing exciting at all. Your side?
No, not really. No excitement happening or planned.
Okay. Yeah, the side as well. Just want to see where my volume is. It's too loud at the moment. I can't see. Okay, that might work. Okay, yeah. I'm still, the problems that happened over the weekend, where I told you I got a spider bite and also some unknown stuff rubbed on my one arm. Just got a little bit worse, the bite and I got a bite on my one finger, a spider bite on my one finger, and on the other hand, on the arm, I got I must have brushed something in the garden that then came up sort of for about 6 inches of sort of spots, if you like. Okay, so I just put some cream on and washed it and so on, but it's got worse. And last night I ran quite a temperature, and I don't have the temperature at the moment. Well, I don't feel like I've got a temperature at the moment, but my arms are hot, and both my hand where I was bitten by the spider is swollen, and the arm on the right is also. So, yeah, not feeling great. But anyway,
Well, that's not good.
no, it's not good at all.
So with the the swelling and the temperature, do you ice it, or what do you do with that?
Well, the temperature was the whole night. Sort of woke up obviously with the temperature getting hot and cold and hot and cold. So not much to do. But I haven't. I've worked at sort of massage the hand down to a degree, and I've just put and an allergic, or what do we call it? And anyway, I forget what it's called now, but to try and focus on the actual the spider bite on the left side on my hand, and so hopefully I only started taking those last night, and again tonight. It hasn't seemed to work yet. And whatever, not knowing what it is on the right side of my arm that I brushed against, I'm using basically the same treatment, but I'm also using, a cream that is sort of I guess a natural type of cortisone to see if that and the tablets are an antihistamine, and they're not natural. So we'll just see what happens. Yeah. But it was tough this morning. I had to give classes this morning, and well, I only had 2 classes, but the first one I just wasn't with it. I really wasn't, because I got out of bed with a high temperature and these arms itching and so on. But I got through it, and then the next class, as if I don't know what the universe is saying, but the next class is internet died. Okay, large section of WA went down, and so I couldn't start my class. Okay, and Sue keeps a backup type modem, I guess, and it's because she does the evening classes when she does the Chinese 51 talk classes, and they come and go, and the classes are relatively short, so you can't afford to waste time, and so she has this backup and that she uses, and so by the time we came to start my class, I didn't have internet, so I just went and set it to her computer, and the outcome of that was I didn't have slides. I had my notes for the class, and I launched the class from a computer, and for the first time in my life, I decided to present a class without slides. Okay, and so, but it went off all right. I told the people what had happened, so the class knew, what, and they were, they were still interactive and kind, and said that they got a lot of. It was a class about, as seniors, how to maintain your health. Okay, and so yeah, I was able to also ad lib a lot more when you don't have slides.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you can go off at a tangent, and everybody thinks it's part of the class. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's all good.
Yeah, that's all right. How's your work? Hey.
Yeah, no, not too bad. It was quite busy today, but we've got a bit of a weather event happening over here at the moment, just flooding rains, they reckon, for the next 3 days. So,
I see that. I saw that on my computer. How's it affecting you, the floods?
Oh, it doesn't really affect where I am, because I'm sort of right on the coast, so the water just runs straight out to sea, so it seems to drain away in a heartbeat.
Are you high enough? Are you high up? Are you?
High enough, I wouldn't say it's high, but high enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So so it sort of gets away, but in different parts of the city and that, they've had pretty significant flooding in different areas. So and more forecast. So
goodness me. And is there a reason? Is there some sort of climatic event somewhere?
Yeah, it's just some weather pattern where it's like a low pressure system, and it just seems to just sit there and cry.
Okay, yeah, it's not a cyclone of some area that's.
No, well, they don't class it as a cyclone. As long as it's not windy, it's just a lot of rain at the moment.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So I chose a bad background. More water.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I don't mind. It's in my mind, it's another example of like media beating up a lot of hype about it and inducing fear in people. I mean, for crying out loud, it's just wet weather, So
yeah.
So
and it looked like from the images, some of the cars were being pushed around in some areas.
Yeah, I mean, but they're sort of, there's areas, as in different parts, they just flood, a dog can pee up against a tree and it starts flooding, so it's just, but, as I said, the media likes to sensationalize it all and, beat up a whole lot of fear associated with it, which is sort of crazy, but anyway, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the beast. And I see there's a lot of saber rattling going on now about over in the Ukraine again. So
yeah, but it's interesting how things have moved the way they have moved, with Russia recognizing the rebels, plight for how many years is it? Okay, it's many years. And, so that now, really put the Black Hats in a spin. What happens now? How do we get a war going here? Okay.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. And I mean, a lot of Ukrainians, or as I mentioned on Sunday, are crossing into Russia for protection, and Russia's coming in now that they recognize these rebel states. They can come in because the rebels have asked them to. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as a peacekeeper.
Yeah, that's right. So, and it's so funny watching some of the Western media. I mean, they called Putin all sorts of horrible names.
Oh yeah, I saw one there earlier today. There was a comparison with Hitler.
Yeah. I mean, it's outrageous. And one news headline called him the stupidest president ever. Okay. Now, I mean, and we've got to read that sort of junk. Okay. It's such a shame, man. I hope in due course that some white hats actually buy out all these media, the main ones, like CNN in America.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're just they're just propaganda arms. That's all they are. They're not news outlets. They're just propaganda arms.
Yeah, that's all they are. But I mean, they are on the stock exchange. They can be bought, and so hopefully that will happen. I mean, we were hoping, or I was hoping, years ago that the alternative was Fox News. Okay, but they've disappointed me. Over the last 2 years, anyway. So anyway, maybe the Washington Post will come to light.
Who knows? I think the truth is well and truly buried amongst that crowd. That's for sure.
Yeah.
As it does, like in a broader sense, the truth is often buried, isn't it?
Yeah.
The black hats, as you call them, don't want us to know about the truth in any form.
No, absolutely not. They want us to believe a truth that they've created, which is a lie.
Keep us in ignorance. Yeah.
And in fear. That's what they want. And they need wars. They need bloodshed. They need pain.
Well, that's got to feed the fear, haven't you?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's what they feast off.
Yeah.
What's your take? Actually, I was thinking about it on the drive home tonight. Actually, what's your take about on manifesting? Like people, you hear different commentators talk about manifesting, your goals or your future. Well, what do you think about that whole idea of manifesting?
Yeah, I think it depends in what tense you put the word in. You said in manifesting, okay, and we do. I absolutely agree. Is that you move in a direction in any aspect of your life, whether it's mentally or physically or emotionally, or and whatever you focus on from all dimensions, okay, you're going to land up with. Okay, so let's take a negative example right now. Okay, I'm not feeling well. Okay, and my arm is itchy. My one side is really itchy. The other side is sore, and my internet went down, and that stressed me. So like feeling down in the dumps. Now, I know that when you're down in the dumps in all those different aspects of your being, you're not going to, and especially if the moon is full as well, then it's amplified. Okay, it's not. I know it's not full now. Okay. But you need to try and take your mind off it, your emotions off it. And if you can, stop the physical pain or the physical discomfort so that you can then focus on, perhaps the book that I'm reading now, and it's a motivational book, and it's really very interesting. And so then you got time to read, and so you're reading that and you're now focusing on that, those factual things that are in that book, and so it uplifts you, okay, and you're now focusing on that, and so yes, but I do not believe in a strategy to manifest. Okay, I don't know the two. What historically, particularly spiritual people, but not only spiritual people. I mean, if you go onto LinkedIn, you're going to find lots of historical articles. I don't know about current because I don't go on LinkedIn very much now. But you used to get a lot of articles about, lay down your intention, focus on it, and you can manifest whatever you want. So people then manifest or attempt to manifest more money or a better home or a bigger motor car or, whatever. Okay. And that is, for me, is creating karma. Okay. And it's attracting what you're focusing on. You will, it will succeed to a certain point, but it'll also fall very hard at a point. And so do we manifest? Yes, we do manifest. Okay. And do I believe in manifesting? Okay, the answer is no. But do I believe that we do manifest? Yes. Okay.
It's a good distinction, actually.
Yeah. And so that's my take on it. What's your take on it?
I'm of a similar view. I wasn't thinking of it as eloquently as you've just phrased it, but I think the issue of do we manifest? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And as you touched on in terms of the energy, the way I would sort of characterize it is that there are, I guess, a frequency associated with different energy levels. So that if you're focusing on, say, the energy frequency of those associated with spirituality, so love and compassion and service to humanity and those sorts of things, which I would characterize as high frequencies.
Right.
Then if you're focusing on those sorts of energy frequencies, then the sorts of things that will manifest, fairly spontaneously, is access to abundance that supports and is consistent with those energy frequencies. So, like as you've said, like if my goal is to have a big stack of money in the bank and a brand new shiny car and a 21-bedroom house and all of those sorts of things, and I'm trying to manifest them, then the determinant of what I manifest is going to be based on the frequency of the energy that I'm bringing around that. So if the energy that's sort of being directed at lusting after those goals is one of lust and greed and those sorts of things, then that's what you're going to manifest.
Yeah.
You might not get your 21-bedroom home, but you're certainly going to manifest a lot of the misery and suffering that is associated with those energy levels. So
yeah, and you'll probably find that because you're so focused on trying to manifest the 21-bedroom house, is that when it comes up, because you're looking for it and you're expecting it, okay, that you then put yourself in debt in order to get it, and then there you are, you feel good about it. Okay, that's one aspect. So debt is definitely where a lot of people manifest what they want. But the other, more subtle, I think, from what you're saying, is there's something sort of, let's say you're looking at something material, or no, maybe you're looking at something spiritual, maybe a better example to use, and so you say, well, I'm going to focus on love and caring and gratitude and so forth, so I can raise my vibration, and that way I will attract my 21-bedroom house. Okay. And so you can cut off your legs with your intent. Okay. So you might put out an intent there to be more spiritual, but I don't think that's a valid manifestation in that of being more spiritual, just setting out to be more spiritual.
No, well, that's right. Yeah, I mean,
that's, yeah. And so, I think the focus is we are quantum physics energy, and the only way we seem to be able to and manipulate's the wrong word. The only way that life can continue in a way is through the focusing of the energy, perhaps not even with an intent. I'm not sure about intent. That's another discussion. We've had intent before, you and I, over the years, and we've spoken about that, and maybe I've got a different opinion to what I had 2 or 3 years ago. But we do know, I don't think there's any doubt in our minds that, how we are feeling, thinking, and behaving, okay, we're going to manifest certain realities in our lives, in certain domains, if you like, or certain dimensions. But sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, and as you say, some of those, that if I'm seeking, all of those material things, one of the things that I will probably manifest in association with it will be a lot of stress.
Yeah.
A lot of worry, and those sorts of energies induce a lot of illness.
Yeah.
And disease and those sorts of things, So it's definitely a case of be careful what you wish for, because
you might get it. Yeah.
You might get some earrings with your handbag, So,
yeah.
And conversely, in one sense, that if you're starting out with this idea of manifesting a 21-bedroom house, for example, but the energy level that you're sort of focusing on is one of love and compassion and those sorts of frequencies, then you may well get your 21-bedroom home, but you might turn it into an orphanage. So it's something that does, in my view, require some precision and some thought, and whether that translates into intent, that's out of that as well. But it's interesting though, because a lot of these sort of, the ones that seem to get a fair bit of airtime about, you can have whatever you want. Well, in one sense, that's true, but you need to put the context around it. What is it that you actually want? And I would argue the why behind it. We'll have
but if let's assume that you're not spiritual, okay, that you're just a man on LinkedIn, and you want to build a business, and for all the reasons that everybody wants to build a business, and so you now come across this information about manifesting, and that's, they now set out and decide, well, I want to be rich, I want that house, I want these things, okay, I want to manifest them, okay, and so he does, okay, because it's in proportion to his energy, his power that he puts behind it and focuses on it. But if you want to use your example of a 21-bedroom house as an orphanage, okay, your energy really needs to be very clear about your passion for orphans, okay, first and foremost, okay. And let's assume you've been spending day and night and years in and out, looking after orphans and caring for them and wherever you can, and then you think, really, there's so many orphans, we really do need a house, okay, and that's about all you need to be able to put out there, and thinking about the house, feeling the pain of these kids running around the streets, let's say, okay, and then you'll manifest it, okay? Because all the energies on all dimensions or all aspects of you as a human being, visible and invisible, are behind it, okay? And I think that's
I think where the traps come in for people too is they have their shopping lists of what they want to manifest, but there seems to be this underlying assumption is that when I get that, I will be happy. When I get that, this will happen, and that's a bridge too far.
Yeah, it is. And it comes to that famous question we always use, why? Okay. Why do you want a 21-bedroom house? Okay. And that's never in these articles that we used to. I don't read them now for a long time, but you used to read. There was never the why. Okay.
No.
There was all sorts of plans and steps and all sorts of things. And justification of using the energy universe and how you can attract, but never the why. And so, your why for orphanage children, is it comes from a different place to somebody who wants to open a 21-bedroom guest house, okay, in order to make money, okay. So yeah,
or have a 21-bedroom house because it thinks it gives them prestige and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, status and everything.
Yeah,
in the eyes of all of these other people whose opinions apparently matter.
Yeah. That's another thing, of course. You manifest for ego reasons. Okay, so egotistical reasons. Yeah, don't spark me on that one. Okay. It's interesting because we spoke about career paths and so on, and not career paths, life paths, and it was one of the things that and I recognize looking back that I had to learn in this path is you don't do things for other people's recognition. And but I used to. It was my life. I had to get over that. Okay. I would say yes to everything just to please people. Okay, and to make them think that I'm a good guy. Okay. And until I came to realize I'm not a good guy. So I'm all right. Yeah, but it's true,
But again, it's one of those areas where there's a need for precision, isn't it? Because I've also sort of been thinking about, similar sort of things in the sense that, like if there's, someone in your life, for example, who, perhaps unknowingly even, like this is sort of theoretical, has upset you, for example. That dialogue immediately kicks in and starts saying, poor me, and demonizing them and all of this sort of stuff, and that's the interesting thing, in terms of shutting that dialogue down, because a lot of it's just like an autistic fantasy. It's like, the next time I see them, or if they call me, it's all sort of, this well rehearsed,
and you run them down in your mind and verbally.
Yeah. And that's another form of manifesting in many respects. If you're sort of constantly cycling
Of course it is. Absolutely.
Cycling these scenarios through your mind,
Absolutely. You bring it on, and you get more of what you're emotionally involved in.
Well, that's right, and that's why. I think I mentioned it once before to you, the whole idea of just saying, just be quiet.
Yeah.
Don't need to do anything, just be quiet. So
Yeah. I've spoken about that recently a lot. Just be quiet, and but I say but because I agree with you. Okay, but okay. Yeah, we are continually thinking. We are continually feeling. Okay, so yes, we can go and meditate and focus on our breath and then have those moments of it. But as we, going through, you listening to your book in your car as you go to work, you get to work and you start working and interacting with people and so on. You can't just be still. You can, I guess, if you were ambitious at your work, you can further, maybe your education in an area of the business that you want to move into. And I can't see any harm in that, because, furthering one's knowledge about anything in the universe, I think is beneficial and valuable, not for earning more money, but for your own connectivity with the universe through your brain and your pineal gland. Is constantly learning.
I'd probably characterize it as knowledge and capability, like if you're constantly, so for example, you know that at some point you're going to be dealing with someone difficult, rather than approaching it as like a fencing match, where you're trying to, stab them in the chest. It's more about, how can I deal with this more effectively and positively, so that you don't end up in some sort of conflict or turmoil or stress or whatever. And the way you do that is, as you say, is you build your knowledge, you build your capabilities, so
but can't you also relate that to physical things? Let's say restoration of furniture.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
yeah, absolutely. In fact, I not as much these days, but when I was doing a bit more teaching around it, that was the first thing I'd say to people is look at what's in front of you and see what's there. Because, for a number of people, there was this underlying assumption, okay, well, there's the chair or the table or whatever. Okay, where's the sandpaper? It's like, well, hang on a minute.
Right. Okay.
Hang on a minute. Step away from the sandpaper,
And what are they got to ask themselves?
Well, that's right. And that question, is to reinforce them is, well, what's going on here? What are we actually looking at here? And what's important? Like if this is a genuine antique, for example, then the value is in the patina and the character. That is, the 100 or 200 years worth of existence.
Right.
So reaching for a piece of sandpaper to scrub that off, well, with every stroke, you're scrubbing off hundreds of dollars of value.
Okay. Right.
So what do you want to do? Is this something that you want to preserve or conserve, or is it something that you want to restore or renovate? They're the sorts of questions that you need to be asking yourself. What do you want?
Yeah. What are you wanting? Yeah. And understanding what you're dealing with.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And some people mistakenly believe that that either preservation or restoration of an old piece of furniture means you sort of rebuild it to make it look like new. Well, that's not the objective at all.
Yeah.
It's like sending an 80-year-old off for a bit of cosmetic surgery to pump up the boobs and all that sort of stuff. So it's just doesn't end well.
You still are that age.
Exactly.
Manifesting. Yeah.
Interesting topic, actually.
What, pumping up boobs?
Well, no, not at all. But the idea of manifesting it in one sense, for some people, can be, like the old classic chicken and egg thing. It's like, oh, I want to manifest this. Well, why? What is it that you want out of? Why is this important for you? And when you get to the root of what it is, or the truth of the matter, it's probably got nothing to do with what you think you want to manifest. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because if you know the car, the house, the bank account, you know, is the pursuit of happiness, then hey, you might be very disappointed here.
Mm,
So,
mm.
mm,
Yeah, but if you just leave for a moment the material things out, the physical things, when you're talking about thinking about manifesting, okay. You know, from my Get Set Up sort of articles and things that I read of other people and classes, there seems to be quite a lot of loneliness among senior people. Okay.
I wouldn't say not only senior people, I'd say loneliness generally.
Yeah, but Get Set Up deals with people over 55. Okay. So in fact, I see now they're talking more and more when they talk about 60 plus now. Okay. But and so people are lonely now. Yeah, you can, and I try to do that in my class for a really bit a roundabout way. It wasn't focusing on loneliness. Now you can encourage people to do certain activities. Okay. And so if you, let's say you enjoy reading books, okay, then you join a community, it can be online or physical, a book club, okay, where you discuss your book and you listen to other people discuss the book. And but the big thing is it's social. So you're having that social interaction, okay, and that you know, to an extent will help alleviate the loneliness. It's something to look forward to. It's something to contribute to, okay. Or, you know, if you like cooking or baking or something like that, you join.
It's probably been compounded in the last couple of years too, I guess, hasn't it, with, you know, lockdowns and isolations and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, but in addition to that, you know, you and I came out of the baby boomer era, okay. So historically, there are more people now and over 60 years old than ever before in the history of the planet. Okay, so our society has changed dramatically as far as age is concerned, and also people are generally living slightly longer than maybe the last 100 years. Okay, now, you know, people are experiencing things now in all sorts of domains. You know, where as an old person do you go and live? Okay, and do you have to be supported with your children, from your children? Okay, do you go into an old age home? Okay, so you've got these decisions to make, and they all impact on what you're going to manifest straight away, almost. Okay, so you know, if you go into an old age home and it doesn't work for you, okay, you know, you could be very, very lonely, even though you've got people around you. Okay. So, and then of course the opposite could occur too. That's the ideal place to go, and you know, go and play cards one evening and play board games another evening, and so, you know, and you now see them in the street or you see them in the shops, and you've got people to interact with and greet. Away goes the loneliness. Okay, but you manifest it through decisions. Okay, and sometimes you can't make decisions that you'd like to make for restrictions, maybe physical restrictions like, you know, disabilities, but also financial, possibly. So therefore, you've now got to relook at that whole process and say, well, okay, now, you know, I don't have any money, or this or that or the other thing, and look at what you're going to focus on to move forward with. Okay, and so yeah.
So it's sort of like it's sort of like an exchange, isn't it? A constant process of letting go and just being careful that you're not clinging to something, so that that you have the freedom to focus on those things that you're able to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Clinging on to is something that we can actually do subconsciously, okay? Because we've got
a best.
Yeah, and so what I mean by that is that you make excuses to yourself, okay? And so you don't do a change. Let's say somebody is suggesting, for argument's sake, a logical suggestion to an individual, let's say a book club, and but then they inwardly or subconsciously they say, I don't have time. Okay, and that's one of the biggest excuses, to remain in that old paradigm of holding on to, as you said. Okay, but you don't know you're holding on to it. Okay, I haven't got time. I just haven't got time. And so that is for me. I think if I just, the few people that I've questioned on Get Set Up are things about this. Today we were talking about being creative as terribly important for your health. Okay. And doing anything creative, doesn't matter what it is. Okay. And science has shown, and I shared the science with them too, and the studies that were done, that they will live longer and healthier and happier if they do something creative. Okay. Compared to those who do nothing creative. Okay. And 50% of them during just the study period time died, whereas those who do something creative didn't. Okay. So it's quite dramatic. So what are those subtle things that block you, that attach you? It could be your bias. Okay. So yeah, it could also be your what's the word when you look at somebody and you judge them perhaps for the color of their skin or whatever. Okay. Can't think of
prejudices or whatever.
Prejudices, yes, that's the word I'm looking for, prejudice. Okay. So your prejudices could be holding you back. Okay. So you think you have a look there, and let's say you have a prejudice of people in wheelchairs or something. Okay. And you see a couple of people in wheelchairs there, and that sort of inwardly you say, well, now I've got to make an excuse. I can't get there, or I haven't got time, or whatever they are. But it's your prejudice that's holding you back. Okay. Nothing more in that case. So,
and I think some of it too is just habit, habitual stuff. It reminds me of a story, or I think I used to use it in the business context, but it's sort of a generic thing, where like, you get married and you sort of, okay, let's have a lamb roast for dinner. And it's like, so gets the lamb roast out and cuts this piece off and then puts it into the roasting pan. And you say, what'd you do that for? Well, that's how you cook the meat, my grandmother and my mother, and that's how I cook the meat, So the next time you go over and you see, the mother or the grandmother, you just sort of say, oh, by the way, so this, the way you cook that leg of lamb by cutting that off, and the grandmother said, yeah, well, I only had a really small dish, so that's what I had to do, But it had been taken as, that's how you cook a piece of meat.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're all conditioned like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, yeah, good
example. So it's almost like that, genetic memory, isn't it? That's what you do,
Yeah.
But the reasons why you did it have well and truly been lost. So,
Yeah.
but I suppose
yeah.
that even in a sort of an organic sense, that's what a lot of stress is about. You know, it's the old fight or flight mechanism, isn't it? You know, one of, you know, running away from tigers in the jungle,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're still running from them. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's the you know, the flip side of that. There's also the fantastic opportunity to awaken, though, isn't it? Yeah, to awaken to all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And,
Mm.
and you know, if you ask anybody, you know, they would say, yes, I'm absolutely, I'm awake, I'm ready for it, I can do, but they don't recognize that they're not. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I remember
Mm.
Richard Branson, okay, the guy that I always respected as a sort of a business leader, and he was, you know, he says the best way to get forward uh, is when somebody asks you something, say yes. Okay,
Mm.
he said just
Mm.
do it, just do it. Okay, and but that's unusual because I think most people would first say, well, no, hang on, I've never been there, never done that. Okay.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So, yeah.
Mm. That's right. But I think even just in the age in which we live, you know, like, because I often say to people, you know, like even like just the idea of a mobile phone, you know, more and more I find myself like just sticking it in a bag, or, you know, even when I go out somewhere, you know, if I've got a bag with me, I'll just stick it in the bag. And you know, someone said, oh, I tried to call you. I said, yeah, I don't look at the phone much anymore, you know. And you compare that to others that are, you know, would look at their phone probably 300 times in a day.
Or every time it bleeps. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm.
I've
Mm.
turned off all my bleeps. Okay, my phone
Mm.
doesn't bleep. Okay, and
Mm.
it's I do turn on the bleeps on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay,
Mm.
because you know then I've got I'm happy to spend some time, you know, to
Mm.
somebody. It's
You
usually a
know,
kid.
or sleeping with the phone beside the bed, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And if they wake up through the night, the first thing they do is reach for the phone, you know. And so,
yeah,
you know, so it's just sort of, and it's not a rebellious behavior, but it's just one of like, well, why? You know, like if I'm going to bed, I'm going to sleep.
mm, mm,
You know, this sort of ever ready, always available sort of mindset. You know, so
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and I pick up the phone some days and I'll say, oh, you know, you've had 4 missed calls, you know, and you'll look at the history. Oh, I don't know who any of those are, and none of them left a message, so it couldn't have been important, you know.
yeah. I
Where
find
there's other
that
people,
regularly. Yeah.
yeah, and there's other people I know who will religiously go and call all of those numbers back. You know, oh, I missed your call. You know,
Yeah, and please hold on there. I'll put you through to
yeah,
the AI. The AI
yeah,
wants to
that's right.
talk to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, uh,
yeah. I think from the sounds of it, you know, we both evolved as far as cell phones are concerned in the same direction. You know, I hardly ever use my cell phone. Okay,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
I do, certainly, you know, probably every weekend with some of my kids, and others every second weekend. And
Mm,
my brother, I guess I don't know if he's lonely or not in South Africa, but
mm,
he sends me anything that he's looking at. Okay, and
mm,
9 out of 10, it's a joke. Okay, that he gets on
mm,
Facebook or somewhere. Okay, and
mm,
9 times out of 10, it's very funny. Okay,
mm,
and so
mm,
you know, have a good laugh,
mm,
and he probably sends it once a day. Okay,
mm, mm,
and so it's sometime during the day, which is usually in the evening when I turn my computer off and
mm,
stop. Then I go and have a look,
mm,
and then 9 times out of 10, my brother's there.
mm.
So
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, you know, like in our lifetimes, you know, we've seen the impact of technology. You know, like like with my two brothers, with my older brother, when he was at school, he had the slide rule. When I was at school, I had a calculator, and when my younger brother was at school, he had access to a computer. But even in a more holistic sense, like when we first, when you and I first started work, it was the manual typewriter was the way that correspondence was prepared.
Yeah.
And you had the typing pools and
That's
large
right.
organizations and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the word processor came, the electric typewriter went from manual to electric, and then the word processor came on the scene, and how all of that sort of has changed, and
Yeah.
and how you used to dictate a letter, and now you can just speak into the computer and it does it for you as well, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's like and that's in our lifetime. So you think about, like I think about my grandchildren now, and you think, the technology that they have access to right now and what it might look like over the course of their lifetime, assuming,
Yeah.
no major disasters and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, I think as we move forward, we use now of that. You and I use it more discreetly, I think, probably, and we use it when it's useful to us to use. Okay, like now, really useful to use internet and Zoom, and have a chat. It's great value, certainly to me. And but and Zoom is used with Get Set Up classes. So so that's something we use a lot, or I use a lot. Okay, but then there are hundreds of apps out there that I've looked at, and when I first started Get Set Up, I used to, teach people, the beginners, of how to use them and so on, until it nearly drove me mad. Okay, and for a year now, I haven't, or less, I haven't done any classes on technology. But they're already starting to ask me now, want to go back, but not to the old. Okay, I got a request. What's today? Wednesday. Anyway, in the last few days, would I do a class on Web3? Okay, and I thought, okay. My first response was yes. Okay, that's it. Just YES. And then I sat back and I thought, okay, now what the hell is Web3? So yeah. And he said something else. He said, but Web3 and associated topics. I don't know what associated. I hadn't had a chance to even look at it to see, because I said, when I replied, I said yes. And then I said, maybe April. They said, that's fine. So I
well, the biggest thing that's associated with Web3 is crypto.
Yes, it is. Okay, I realized that. Okay. And well, not crypto so much as blockchain.
Well, true. Yeah. Blockchain, definitely.
Yeah. So, that's about as far as my knowledge went. So I thought immediately that interested me. Okay. So we'll see. But what related topics, I suppose, like say crypto is a related product. Okay. And
all of that digital asset stuff that comes with that, and virtual reality,
or metaverse
stuff, and all that.
Yeah. So I'll I don't want to go against what we've just been talking about, you see. So say yes, open up, okay, and see, who knows, it might turn out to be very interesting.
I think it's an important nuance too, because like, it's not as if you or I are anti-technology. Like, we don't have like a Luddite sort of mentality, is that we're not still arguing the case for horse-drawn carriages or candle power instead of electric lights and stuff like that. I mean, that's not what we're talking about. I think you and I are quite happy to adopt and use technology if it enhances our lifestyle and and well-being and that sort of thing. But just adopting it for the sake of it being oh, I've got to have an iPhone, whatever they're up to now, because it's the latest. Could care
Yeah,
less.
but
you know?
a lot of things like, let's say, Web3, okay? I mean, an
Mm.
iPhone is an iPhone, and sure, it'll have some more features. I don't even use I've got an iPhone 6. I don't even use half the features, okay? But you know, when you it's talk about like Web3, I want to actually investigate it. I actually want to become aware of what it is, okay, what it's doing. And just changing the subject 180 degrees. Somewhere along the line a month ago, I found some articles on science fiction starships.
Mhm.
Okay. And I've always been into science fiction. I mean, the things like Star Wars and Star Trek and you know the gate thing and so on. I've always enjoyed that. And I thought, I wonder if that'll be interesting in putting together a class. Anyway, today happened to be the day that I'm now putting together the class for March. Okay. And really enjoying it. You know, that memory of going back and that particular starship and, you know, what the event was, and reminding myself by doing research and so on. It was quite a lot of fun. Okay. I mean, it's of no value to anybody other than, I guess, some entertainment. Okay. And I find that it was an interesting thing today was I can research for my own entertainment and then present it on Get Set Up, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the other wonderful thing though about, you know, like science fiction, or, you know, I mean, even people like, you know, Leonardo da Vinci, you know, like he, you know, drew, you know, plans for flying machines and all sorts of technology which wasn't available in his time. You know, so there's that creativity component and that imagination, you know. And but the interesting thing, I guess, from my own perspective, is that humans are the only animal that does that on this planet. You know, like,
so we're the only intelligent ones.
well, well, it's funny you say that because that sparked another thought in my mind as well. But you know, well, not that I'm aware of anyway. But like, you know, my dog, you know, she doesn't ponder traveling, you know, to distant places in the universe and stuff like that. And
what? I don't understand where you're going with that. Okay. Animal's an animal. Okay.
no, well, but I mean, it just comes back to that whole idea of, and you mentioned it right at the start about, you know, the creative expression and how that manifests itself in different ways and so on.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you just sparked a thought in my mind was this issue about, you know, about conscious, you know, the level of consciousness of humans and that. And I read an article there, and rarely do I find myself disagreeing vehemently with a scientist. You know, I believe I have an open mind and happy to hear their argument or their thesis sort of thing. And, you know, there was an article there that I was reading last night, it was actually, where his proposition is that the planet Earth is not conscious. There's lots of animals that have consciousness, but the planet itself is not conscious. But in his opinion, there are other planets in space, he didn't say where exactly, that are conscious.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, and my initial reaction was when I read, as soon as I read the word, you know, when he said, you know, the planet Earth is not conscious, I thought, that's bullshit. I was like, how could you possibly say that? You know, because I mean, if humans are conscious, are we not a product of this planet? Are we not a manifestation of this planet?
But don't you find it interesting that he thinks there are other planets that are conscious? I think.
Oh yeah.
But
that just made me more annoyed. As well, how can you think that and not know that the very Earth that you're standing on?
Yes, absolutely.
It's not conscious. It's just a pile of rocks and slag. You know.
Yeah. Interesting. He hasn't he hasn't read anything about quantum physics.
Well, and even just understanding what consciousness looks
Consciousness.
like.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You know, and it sort of had me wondering, because like if I was making some assumptions, because I actually don't know what his, you know,
Yeah,
position is, even on like the existence of God. But I mean, you know, one way of describing God is pure consciousness.
right, right.
You know, so it would be very quickly and easily to ascertain whether or not, you know, he wants to get into a debate about the existence of God or not. You know, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're reading funny books. Ah, yeah, yeah,
As
interesting.
soon as I said, you know, that phrase about that scientist position as being bullshit, the dog come running up to me like, "What's the matter? What's the matter?"
Yeah, wants to come and calm you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good place to end. Eh?
It is indeed. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good chat tonight. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
Yeah.
Interesting. Had no idea where it was heading. Yeah.
Okay, then we'll look forward to talking with you on the weekend, then. Eh?
Yeah, great, man. Thanks a lot.
Sounds
Man.
good. Okay,
Cheers,
then.
Don. Bye.
See you now. Bye now.